The winter wind blew through the streets of Chicago, Illinois. Snow covered the sidewalks, and people hurried home to escape the freezing weather. Among them was a young woman named Sarah Mitchell. At 28 years old, she worked 2 jobs just to survive. During the day, she was a cashier at a grocery store. At night, she cleaned offices in downtown Chicago. Life had never been easy for Sarah. 5 years earlier, her father had passed away after a long illness. The medical bills had drained the family's savings, and soon after, her mother became sick as well. Sarah had dreams once. She wanted to become a teacher. She wanted a small house with a garden and a family of her own. But those dreams seemed very far away now. Every morning she woke before sunrise. She prepared breakfast for her mother, helped her take her medication, and then rushed to work. By the time she returned home each night, she was exhausted. Yet she never complained. One evening, while returning from her cleaning job, Sarah noticed an elderly man sitting alone near a bus stop. His coat was torn, and his hands trembled from the cold. People walked past him without even looking. Sarah stopped. She reached into her purse and found only $20. It was the money she had planned to use for groceries. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she walked into a nearby restaurant and bought a hot meal. She handed it to the old man. "Sir, you look hungry," she said gently. The man looked at her with watery eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. Sarah smiled and continued walking home. That night, she ate only bread and drank water for dinner. Months passed. Life became even harder. Her mother's condition worsened, and the doctors said she would need expensive treatment. Sarah began working extra shifts, often sleeping only 4 hours a night. One afternoon, while stocking shelves at the grocery store, she received a phone call. Her landlord was raising the rent. Sarah felt her heart sink. She didn't know how she would manage. That evening, she sat beside her mother's bed. "I'm trying my best, Mom," she said quietly. Her mother squeezed her hand. "I know you are." Tears rolled down Sarah's cheeks. "I don't know what to do anymore." Her mother smiled weakly. "Never stop being kind, Sarah. Even when life is cruel." The next morning, Sarah arrived at work and was immediately called into the manager's office. She feared the worst. The manager looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, Sarah," he said. "Corporate is reducing staff. Today is your last day." Sarah felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. She had just lost her job. As she walked home, snow began to fall. People around her laughed and talked while carrying shopping bags filled with gifts and food. Sarah felt completely alone. That night she cried herself to sleep. The following morning, she woke to a knock at the door. Standing outside was a woman in a business suit. "Are you Sarah Mitchell?" she asked. "Yes." The woman handed her an envelope. "You've been invited to attend a meeting tomorrow morning." Sarah looked confused. "A meeting?" The woman nodded. "The invitation is very important." Before Sarah could ask another question, the woman left. Inside the envelope was an invitation from one of the largest companies in Chicago. Sarah couldn't understand why. The next day, wearing her best clothes, she entered the company's headquarters. The building was enormous. She felt nervous as an assistant led her into a luxurious office. When the door opened, Sarah froze. Sitting behind the desk was the elderly homeless man she had helped months earlier. Her eyes widened. "You?" The old man smiled warmly. "Please, have a seat." Sarah sat down, completely shocked. The man explained that his name was Robert Harrison, founder and owner of a multi-million-dollar company. After the death of his wife, he had become depressed and withdrawn. He spent months traveling around the city disguised as a homeless person. "I wanted to see how people treated those they thought had nothing," he said. Sarah listened quietly. "Most ignored me. Some insulted me. A few laughed at me." He paused. "But you gave me your last $20. Tears filled Sarah's eyes. "It wasn't much." Robert smiled. "It was everything." He opened a folder. "I investigated your background." Sarah became nervous. "You care for your sick mother. You worked 2 jobs. You've never been arrested. You've volunteered at shelters. And despite your hardships, you continue helping others." Sarah lowered her eyes. Robert continued. "That kind of character is rare." He slid a document across the desk. "I'd like to offer you a position in my company." Sarah stared at the paper. The salary was more money than she had ever imagined earning. She began crying. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes." For the first time in years, Sarah felt hope. Over the next few months, her life changed dramatically. She worked hard and quickly earned the respect of her coworkers. She was honest, responsible, and compassionate. Soon she was promoted. The new salary allowed her to pay for her mother's treatment. Slowly, her mother began recovering. For the first time in a long time, they smiled together. One evening, Sarah sat beside her mother in their small living room. "Things are finally getting better," her mother said. Sarah nodded. "I wish Dad could see this." Her mother looked toward the family photo hanging on the wall. "I'm sure he can." Months later, Sarah purchased a modest house on the edge of the city. It wasn't a mansion, it wasn't luxurious, but it was theirs. The day they moved in, Sarah stood in the backyard looking at the small garden. Tears formed in her eyes. Years of struggle had finally led somewhere. But life still had another surprise waiting. One afternoon at work, Sarah met a man named Michael. He was kind, respectful, and intelligent. Unlike others, he never cared about money or status. The two became friends, then close friends. Eventually, they fell in love. Michael admired Sarah's strength and kindness. Sarah admired his honesty and loyalty. After 2 years of dating, Michael proposed beneath thousands of lights in a city park. Sarah cried as she said yes. Their wedding was simple but beautiful. Friends and family gathered to celebrate. Even Robert Harrison attended. When Sarah walked down the aisle, she remembered all the nights she had cried herself to sleep. All the moments she thought life would never improve. And now she was surrounded by people who loved her. Years passed. Sarah and Michael had a daughter named Emma. She became the center of their world. Sarah promised herself that her daughter would always learn the importance of kindness. Whenever Emma asked why her mother helped strangers, Sarah told her the story of the homeless man at the bus stop. Emma listened carefully every time. One day, when Emma was 10 years old, she came home from school looking upset. "What happened?" Sarah asked. Emma sat beside her. "There was a new girl at school." "Okay." Nobody wanted to sit with her at lunch. Sarah nodded. "What did you do?" Emma smiled. "I sat with her." Tears immediately appeared in Sarah's eyes. She hugged her daughter tightly. At that moment, she realized something important. Kindness doesn't end with one person. It spreads. Years later, Robert Harrison passed away peacefully at the age of 84. Before his death, he left Sarah a letter. She opened it with trembling hands. The letter read, "Dear Sarah, when I met you at that bus stop, I had lost faith in humanity. I believed people only cared about themselves. You proved me wrong. You changed my life more than I changed yours. Never forget that true wealth is not measured in dollars. It is measured in compassion, integrity, and love. Thank you for reminding me of that. Your friend, Robert." Sarah cried for hours after reading those words. She placed the letter in a frame and kept it in her office. Whenever life became difficult, she read it again. Many years later, Sarah became the director of a charitable foundation that helped struggling families across America. Thousands of people received food, housing assistance, and medical support because of her efforts. One winter evening, while leaving the foundation office, she noticed a young woman sitting outside crying. The woman looked exhausted and frightened. Sarah approached her. "Are you okay?" The young woman shook her head. "I lost my job." Sarah sat beside her. The situation felt strangely familiar. The woman explained that she was caring for her sick mother and didn't know how she would survive. Sarah listened quietly. Then she smiled. "Come with me." The woman looked confused. Sarah handed her a business card. "We might be able to help." As they walked toward the building, Sarah looked up at the snowy sky. She remembered the freezing night many years ago when she had given her last $20 to a stranger. Back then, she thought she was helping one hungry man. She never imagined that single act would create a chain of kindness affecting countless lives. Sometimes the smallest decisions become the biggest turning points. Sometimes the kindness we give returns in ways we could never imagine. And sometimes, when life feels darkest, hope is already on its way. Because every act of love leaves a mark. Every act of compassion matters. And every kind heart has the power to change the world. Heart.